Now I came across this video of this girl talking about the Danish deception, and basically she's a lady that meets a guy who's really hot, looks like a Calvin Klein model, and she starts a whole relationship with him, but obviously it goes downhill. Now if you've watched Who the Fuck Did I Marry, this is essentially the same situation. She meets this guy on a trip with her friend who's German, and they are in, what's that place called again? Croatia, right? And she's like, oh, this guy's really cute, looks really fine, tries to sneakily get his Instagram and his friend's Instagram so it isn't obvious that she's feeling him. And then he's like, oh, let's catch up later in the night, but in the end they don't. And then she finally goes back, and her friend goes back to Germany while she goes somewhere else. He's like, hey, do you want to come down to Ibiza? Like, I'll pay for your ticket. And she's like, no, you know, she didn't want to give him the wrong idea and she wasn't keen. And so she goes back to the US. And then he's like, after a while, he keeps responding and liking her Instagram stories. And then he's like, hey, do you want to come down to Monaco? I've got a work trip. And she's like, Monaco, bitch? I can't skip Monaco. And bitch, you can't skip Monaco. She finally says one day, hell yeah, let's do it. And this is a month before the trip. And she's like, by the way, this is my phone number. So they finally exchange phone numbers and they talk tons, but they don't ever FaceTime. Because, you know, she's just like, yeah, he's like, let's keep the suspense till we meet. All this picture that he's really wealthy, that his family has royal ties, that he has 2 properties in Copenhagen, he has all these expensive watches, he has Rolexes and APs and all of that. So he's now paid for this trip to Monaco. The Monaco trip arrives, she meets him, they're both like, they can't get off each other, they're really like kissing each other and all that nonsense. And then she enjoys the trip with him. He pays for everything. He brings her to a restaurant, La Perla, where she admits that she loves him. And then after that, subsequently, he admits he loves her as well. He tells her she can buy anything she wants, designer, she doesn't do it. She only buys like a 200 euro pair of shades or something. And then like it's all going good, you know, he acts like he's a man of money and all that. She finally goes back, and then he's like, oh yeah, since now we're like essentially in a relationship because we both said we loved each other, like how are we moving forward? He books a trip to Texas, which is where she lives. He comes down to Texas, meets all of her friends, they all really get on with him, and pays for everything and all of that. Narcissistic behavior. In the midst of this, he says that he's an Olympic athlete, and she believes it. Bitch, please do some research. A man that tells me he's an Olympic athlete, I'll be like, firstly, where's your 6 rings tattoo that they all like to get at the back here? And secondly, let's pull up the websites and receipts. Anyway, he did give her some random website to say that he has royal links, because she's like, if we get married, you know, the royal family will come for a wedding. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, have a look at this link, www.fullofshit.com. He goes, flies back, she's heartbroken, and she's like, alright, let's make this happen. And they're like, yeah, let's think of this long term. So he says, yeah, I don't mind moving to Texas for you and our kids so you can be close to your family. And like it's all going good, they still go on more trips and he pays for things. But then finally he's like, oh my god, I got sudden payment I need to make for some property. One of the properties I bought, there's a $50,000 charge for like repairs or something. And she's like, oh my god, 50,000 is not a lot. Let's be honest with yourselves. Check yourself if you say you're rich. You cannot have an AP or a Rolex and can't tell me you don't have 50k liquid cash ready to deal with your properties. Anyway, so he's like, oh, my dad won't lend me any money, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't ask her directly. She's like, oh, can I give you? They was like, no. But eventually takes her money, right? Because he's a rat. Like, oh, I don't think I come to Texas, you know, I have to do with this. She's like, no, bitch, I need you in Texas, so I'll give you some money. Anyway, then he takes the money, he comes down to Texas, they have a good time, and then goes back. But now it keeps accumulating, keeps saying like, oh yeah, my dad's in hospital, which his dad really was in hospital. He can't stand his sister and all of that. And he's like, yeah, you know, I asked my friends because they owe me money. I've always helped them out, like, you know, trying to make himself feel better and all that nonsense. So she's like, okay, ask your friends. But like, it's always creeping up that he keeps asking her for money here and there. So he has said that he has had to pay 50k for like the fixing of his properties or whatever. Then on top of that, he said that essentially like the taxes owed to the government for like, you know, his salary or whatever, his real estate was in hundreds of thousands. So that also he had to pay off. She finally goes down to Denmark for the first time to meet his family. She meets the family, they're all hanging out. He says he hates his sister, she's this evil, conniving bitch. Meets her sister, she thinks the sister is completely fine with no issues. But then him and his dad are very frosty and they don't seem to have a very good relationship. Eventually, the trip goes well, she still hangs out with the family, she leaves, she says goodbye, they're still conversing. Now, after a while, they are looking at getting his visa sorted so that he can move to the US. This man has said he'll sell his property at a loss because, you know, he just wants to move, have some capital and all of that. And she's like, yeah, let's do that. And now, you know, he's coming back and forth on trips. And now she's paying for all these trips. And like she's paying for it and then she's putting it on her credit card. But yet he's still not bothered. He's still buying expensive champagne. Like during their anniversary, after he proposes to her, yeah, they get married. Oh, wow, such a shocker. And their anniversary is like, let's buy a $400 bottle of wine. And she's like, bitch, I'm paying for it. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. And then he's like buying drinks for everyone when her friends are in the bar later and all of that nonsense. So I gets into an argument with him for like spending all that money, and he's like, bitch, don't show me disrespect, I'ma beat you with this Dettol bottle. Well, obviously not, but that's my interpretation. And then they have like a little bit of a fight, but they get over it. They decided to go back to Denmark for Christmas, and the mother was like, oh, you guys need to go to the Christmas market and have a stroopwafel. So they decide to go to the Christmas market for a day, and then his friends are also having a Christmas gathering, but he's like, let's not spend too much time. And then she's like, she goes to this gathering with his friends. She meets the guy, his friend, who he was in Croatia with at the very start when she met him for the first time. And she's talking to this friend, and the guy's like, yeah, it's so good of you to be with him even though he has a gambling addiction. She's like, gambling addiction? He's like, gambling addiction. And she's like, I didn't know about that. He's like, And then she's like, call that motherfucker in. So call him, confronted him, and he's like, no, that was years ago, I don't have a gambling addiction now. She's like, you better be sure. He's like, yeah, I'm really sure. And she believes him, obviously. Anyway, they go and visit the parents, blah blah blah, they leave, they're done. And then the dad's condition wasn't good. Soon after, like, the dad had to get hospitalized again, and then they are off to Panama for her 30th birthday trip. As they're traveling for this trip, they get a lot of missed calls from his sister and the sister's boyfriend. Finally, they see the calls, they call back, and they're still flying. And then the sister's like, dad's gone, like his heart has stopped. And he tells this to her husband at this point, this blue-eyed guy who's good for nothing. And he puts down the phone, and she's like, what happened? And he's like, my dad's heart stopped. No Chick-fil-A sauce? Like, literally had no reaction. And she's like, okay. And he's like, yeah, it's true waffle, bitch. Then she's like, let's go, let's fly over to Denmark right now. And he's like, nah, it's fine, the funeral only happened in a week, so let's go to Panama and enjoy ourselves first, baby girl. And she's like, the fuck? Anyway, they go to Panama, isn't all great. They decide to then, after 1 week, fly over to Denmark for the funeral. And then he finally, like, you know, sheds a tear a little bit more. But she doesn't know if that's just, like, he feels it for his mom or she feels it for his dad because they never really had a good relationship. Let's move on. She's eating lunch with him. She then gets a message from her good girlfriend who says, girl, I just want to let you know, heads up. Your man owes my man $200,000. Sis was eating her food and she's like, the fuck, bitch? And then she's like, what the hell is this? And he's like, yeah, you know, we got into watches trade together. He just wants a bit more money. He's still trying to cover up. She gets the details, and the guy's like, no, that's not the case. Like, I give him cryptocurrency. So crypto, let's call that guy crypto like she does, is her girlfriend's guy. And she's like, I'm so sorry this has happened. They sit down with crypto and like her friend, and they're like, we'll pay you back. And they're like, yeah, sure, let's do that. She realizes that, you know, gambling is a disease. She needs to help the man through it because obviously they all think that they're all angels. Honey, if a man's like that, fucking out the door, because they will leave you in a motherfucking second, alright? So don't stay another second with them. That's my husband's name. But yeah, so then after that, they try to get over it, and she thinks like he's done with it, like he's like changing his ways and all that. And you know, they still got all these debts coming in, and he finally gets his visa approved for like the US. They're happy about that. Of this nonsense, he's selling off his property, I guess. She doesn't tell his parents because he like guilt trips her and says, you can't tell my mom, you know, she's all alone and all that like that. So she keeps it to herself, but she sees him on gambling sites half the time. Then finally she tells him to open up an American bank account to move his money now, since he's moving to the US. So he said, yeah, I'll move all my money money over. He says he'll move his money over. She's like, okay, like days later, where's your money? He's like, yeah, I think they held it up, you know, blah, blah, blah. She says, let's go to the Chase Bank. He goes in by himself, doesn't want to let her go in with him, comes out with 1,000, says, oh, it's locked the account, so I just took out 1,000, but he owes her 5K. Like, he needs to give her 5K. She's like, what the hell? Like, you know, why can't you just take out money? He goes, oh, you judging me now? Bitch, where is the manhood? I'm looking. And he gets into a fight with her that night. She takes his Chase card, she goes to the bank and realizes man only has 35 cents in his account. You know, men really be acting the most when they ain't got shit. And so that's when she's like, look, you played me, you tell me like you had all the money, I was like being rude to you, but actually you had no single bit of cash. And it turns out he was still gambling and putting 5K into random ass bets that didn't even make sense. Now you're thinking, this is actual it, like sis gotta leave. And sis was like, yeah, you know, it's time, like this is it, like I think we need to start talking about divorce. And he's like, no, I'll change my ways. He spends the next few months really showing like he's going for meetings to change his ways, to get over his gambling addiction. He started having savings building up, so she'd remain hopeful once again for the billionth time. And then they started saving up towards their wedding, and then, you know, his visa and everything is good, he can travel for some friend's wedding they had to go to in Spain. And then she's like, okay, we got 2 weddings, we got like the African wedding and we got the white wedding, you know, like white dress and stuff. And then the African wedding, like she expected her parents to help her with like the payment, but then the parents are, oh yeah, he said he will pay for it. And she's like, when? And she talks to him, he's like, yeah, I just, you know, I thought we'll help your parents out, we'll pay for it. Narcissistic behavior, once again self-serving, just wanted to seem like the great fucking guy. So she's like telling her parents, I'm sorry, but can you guys like help out a bit? And then the parents are like, yeah, sure, we'll pay. But the parents don't know everything about how he had that 200K in like taxes, the 50K and whatever, and she's been paying shit off for him as well. So they're like happily agreeing to it, not knowing that this man is full of shit. Now the finale is tomorrow or in the next few hours, and she's gonna tell us like how it all culminated and how it all ended. And if you're looking for it, it's called The Danish Deception. So here I am now in Onyeka fashion. I thought it would be one video, but we ended up with a whole bunch of videos once again. So I got the notes, let's go. So where we left off, he was making amends. So he spent about 3 months or something making amends and showing her that he has changed his addiction ways. So they were still going to proceed ahead with the wedding. So now sis is on a hen do, or as you guys will call it, bachelorette. And he has his hearing in Denmark for his business account that was frozen. And then he calls her and says, it's unfrozen now. And it turns out instead of 200 I had in there, turns out I had 300. So then they were celebrating this amount that really didn't exist. And she's like, great, so can you pay my parents for the wedding? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'm on it. So then she's like, okay, 1st August comes around. He doesn't send the money. He says, oh, I've scheduled the payment for 9th of August. He sends her a screenshot from Revolut that is scheduled for 9th of August. 9th of August comes around, money in there. 10th, money in there. 11th, money in there. On the 12th, she's on the phone with her mom and he's right beside it. And the mom's like, the money ain't in, girl. And then she's like looking at him like, bitch, where the money? Then he's like, oh, that's weird because it's scheduled. Oh, you know what? I'll cancel the scheduled payments. And so she's like, something ain't right. So then she plays around with Revolut and realizes that actually you can just put in the amount, take a screenshot, cut off the button so it looks like it's scheduled but it's not. And then she confronts him with that and she says, look, like, you know, this looks exactly like the image you sent me. And then he's like, bitch, you trying to gaslight me? Literally, he's the gaslighter, but he's like, you trying to gaslight me? So he's like, I'm not dealing with this. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go and stay in a hotel. He should stay in a hospital, something ain't right. He's like, I'm gonna stay in a hotel and then I'm flying back to Denmark because I have enough miles. He didn't say he had enough money. He has enough miles. Secondhand embarrassment. And he's like, and I want a divorce. And she's like, divorce? No. Sis is still blinded, right? And then he says, and by the way, I just received a job offer in Denmark for a CEO role where they're going to pay me $1 million. Bro's losing the plot right now. So anyway, she doesn't want him to leave. And so she steals his passport. But he's like, no, I'm ready to fuck off. And she's like, no. So then he doesn't know that she has his passport, right? Now she's joining in the loony bin. And so on the day of his flight, he then leaves the house prematurely while she was out. And when she comes back home and realizes he's not there, she drops him a message and says, bitch, I have your passport. And he goes, you have my passport? What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, he had the audacity to say that. And then he was like, I gotta change my flight now. And she apologizes like, I'm sorry, I took your passport. I can come to the airport and give it to you. And he's like, no, I don't want to see your face. Anyway, so then he's like, you prioritize your friend, right? So fine, and go and tell everyone about this. I don't care. So that's why she was here telling everyone, like literally on TikTok about it. And then she decides to finally sit her family down and tell them everything, because they all didn't know that he had all this like debts and stuff and borrowing money. And then her younger sister goes, oh, maybe it's a good time for me to tell you that he actually borrowed money from me too. And she starts screaming. Every time she finds out a new person borrowed money, she goes, ah! Literally, that's what she claims. So she starts screaming. Her little sister borrowed 3K because he says he wants to buy a birthday present for Onyeka, which in the end he didn't. So it was all lies, right? And then she's shocked by this. She's upset. Then she calls her friend Chris up, who has a kid on the way and is buying the house, because she's like, oh my god, this guy probably borrowed more. And she's like, Chris, did you give him cash? And Chris is like, yeah, I did. And then she calls Rob, did you give him cash? And Rob was like, yeah, I did. And then she calls her cousin, and then the cousin's like, yeah, I did. She calls her high school friend, and her high school friend is like, yeah, I did. And she calls everyone, and they all gave him money, right? Now, what was his story? His story was, I want to buy a car. I want to buy an Aston Martin DB9, but it's that my money is stuck in Denmark, and so, like, it's not in my American account, so can you, like, you know, lend me the money? But don't tell Onyeka, because it's a surprise. It's a surprise. If I was the one that was, like, borrowing the cash, I'd be like, yeah, but when you release him that surprise, you know, so I got a deadline, I know. And then I'll go to Onyeka like, bitch, did the Ferrari come into that parking garage that he bought? Anyway, because he was claiming he was buying all these things, right? And somehow they gave him the money for it. So she's now shocked. She then calls his sister and she's like, I need to give you a lowdown. And then the mom joins in on the call and she tells the whole family this. She's like, you know, he's been lying to me. And, you know, at this point she's crying. She's like, he lied that he was in the Olympics. I burst out laughing. I was like, that's quite funny. If someone said, like, your sister lied about being in the Olympics, I was like, no shit, Sherlock. Does she look like she's made for it? Anyway, and she said, like, and by the way, are you guys linked to the royal family? And the whole family was like, do we look like we are? So she then realizes that everything he said was not true, because the website he gave her could have been something that he made on Wix.com in 5 minutes, but sis bought it. Who gave her a job? Anyway, you know, but understandably, there are a lot of victims like that. So, and what she went through was quite serious. So she felt resentment towards the family because they said they knew about his gambling addiction, but it was 10 years ago. They thought he had overcome it already. But turns out his gambling addiction was the worst that people had ever seen, because he was in a facility trying to recover from it. And the therapist said in their whole career, this was the worst form of addiction they've ever seen. Anyway, she then got sick and tired of him. And then she says, I need you to tell me everyone you borrowed money from right now so I can go and call them and check in. He said, no one asked you to do that. No shit, Sherlock. Why you want to? That's your choice. And she's like, this man really got the audacity right now. You gave him the audacity. So then she blocked his ex on her Instagram because she noticed his ex was viewing her stories. She then shares with the girl like, hey, I just want to let you know this has happened to me. Has this happened to you? And the girl's like, yeah, I've been wanting to reach out to you, but I just felt like you wouldn't believe me. His ex in Denmark. She's like, we've been together for 7 years. Turns out he told Onyeka he had been with his ex for 4 years, but it was 7 years. And even when he met Onyeka on the trip, and even afterwards when he was talking to her, he was still with his ex. Now you think it ends there? No, there was also another third woman that she finds out about in the mix of these other two at the same time. So she's like, okay, so he's cheating on me and everything. I'm sick and tired. She then proceeds to call her friend up and say, can I come to your house? Or like her cousin's house, and then she holds the grandson that they are both godparents to, and then she tells her godson, your godfather is full of shit. And she's crying there. It's a serious situation, but just imagining that, like, this kid is like, the fuck is going on here, man? Put me to bed. I'm done with the day. So then she finds out that even with the girlfriend, everyone he borrowed money from, she finds so many co-worker, husband borrowed money, he lied that he had some investment, every single person. And then text from her so then she got a text from his older sister who said she also wants to talk. And she says that actually he was owing money to everyone, and there were people throwing bricks through the parents' house windows. And he actually moved to China for 6 months. Ni hao, motherfucker. And he decided to run away there. And even in China, he was borrowing money. So then the Chinese people start calling the number in Denmark like, hello, 那个人, he owes me money. And then So bro was going to every continent to cheat people, okay? And he never actually owned any property in Denmark as well. I mean, I could have told you that. I could have told you that. So after a while, she then realizes, hey, there was another Danish family in a couple in Texas that they stumble upon, you know, because they're both like, he's Danish, she's Danish, and like they just wanted to catch up and make like connections. And this was a well-to-do couple. So she calls them up and she says like, did he borrow money from you? And the guy's like, yeah, he took 30 grand from me. Like, and the guy thinks she's involved. And she's like, why didn't you tell me? He was like, well, because you are Nigerian. And I thought you'd be in it with him because Nigeria is the scam capital of the world. When I heard that, I was like, should we look at the truth or should we look at the glaring racism here? But it's the truth, but it's also like racist. But like I didn't know what to make of it. I was just like, oh. And she called her parents. She told her parents what's up, and then she like asked her parents, did you guys lend him money too? They did as well. Everyone did right at this point. And bro's Rolexes were fake, turns out. And then after a while, he started begging for her back, but she was not interested. He was like using ChatGPT to write his messages. And so she wants him to like meet up and get like the divorce papers signed. Eventually it gets signed because her friend Chris says, I'll go for you, honey, and get these papers signed. So yeah, and then subsequently one night they see him in Texas with a hooker at an ATM machine drawing cash, at which point he needs to then justify himself and says, I was just buying weed. It was a stressful time, you know, $40. But they were like, the girl looked like pros. Well, whatever it is his life. But she's now trying to get the dirt on him. And so she's like, anyone come forward if he has conned you of any money. The motherfucking end.
I'm going to be mean for a few minutes. She is a pick-me. That's the only explanation for this story. Because what the hell? I finished Danish Deception today. And honestly, being a pick-me is the only explanation I have for this hell of a story. Because everything else makes no sense. No discernment and no common sense were shown throughout this story until maybe episode 21. Already too fucking late. This is my list of red flags. The way she described him, she always started with his looks, tall, blonde, Danish, and obviously white man. There's nothing wrong with dating a white man. I have done it before. She and me, I guess. But the way she was smiling throughout the story, talking about the man you just divorced, was crazy to me because she was not mad enough. Yes, she's over him. But the way she was smiling and really fantasizing about him while talking about what he did to her was just insane to me. The fact that she gave him 30 USD, hard-earned USD by her, a black woman, to a white man was insane. The fact that she doesn't even know how to use Google properly is even crazier because he claimed to have like real estate in Copenhagen. You never Googled it. He claimed to be from a royal family. Yes, you saw a website with matching names. What does that mean? That he's a royal just because you saw it on some website? She didn't do not even an ounce of research. She didn't do any of that. You really want me to feel bad for you? Even in the beginning, to all of this, I was feeling bad for her until people started mentioning that she follows eyeshadow wearing JD Vance, Candace Owens, and apparently is one of those Nigerians who really put white people on a pedestal and is a Trumpy. I was like, okay, this really checks out because no, this makes no sense. Another thing I never understood was, why the hell would you choose to get married to a man who is always having the worst day of his life, that always entails you sending him some money, and you never really know where this money is going? She only started going to his phone and doing some research when it was already too late, after giving him the visa, after giving him more than 30K, but she kept going on trips with that man. Sorry, I don't feel bad at all. I can't. And for the black women saying this could happen to all of us, you are a bird. You are a bird. I am not a bird. Sorry. And this is why some women need to be left behind, because she essentially bought her own ring. Because of her, all of her friends and family were scammed because she left the discernment. And essentially, I feel like she's still not understanding that all the money he spent collectively on her is still way less than she ever gave him. I hope she gets her money back. I really hope she gets her money back and wakes the fuck up. But she follows Candace Owens, so if it sounds like I'm being mean, I am being very mean right now. Yes, I am. 1 to 2, I felt bad. 3 to 4, shaky, not sure. 5 to 8, oh, she's a Trumpy. Everything checks out. But I will still listen to see what really happened. So I did. At the end of the story, her friend tells her about Martin, the guy, being seen with a sex worker. This woman he was seen with is not a sex worker. I mean, we don't know. But the fact that a friend says she's a 1 out of 10 and she felt the need to put that in the story, also putting the fact out there that he was seen taking out $40 from the ATM, alluding to the fact that this woman must have been a sex worker because she was cheap. It's bonkers to me, because whether she was a sex worker or not, she still came out with a plus. You got out with a big fat minus, shame, and no lesson learned.
Sonya lied to all of you and you fell for it. At least by omission, at the very least. She forgot to tell y'all one very important detail, which is she wanted mixed babies and her mom and dad wanted mixed grandbabies. But you had on blue eyes and blonde hair colored shades, so that's all you could see is the genetics. You were like, ooh, these genetics are gonna eat down. $5,000? Not a problem. The genetics are gonna eat. And your mom and dad were like, oh, are you both grandbabies are coming? Or you both grandbabies are coming in the house? Are you daft? Are you taking a piss, fam? What do you mean? You send that man your passport details. Are you mad? And if you're not Nigerian, Ghanaian, African, like, you may need to sit out in the comments and let the Africans explain to you what I'm talking about. Because what do you mean your mom and dad were offering to pay for the traditional and this and that and that and the third? Typically, the bride's family is not forking up a motherfucking dime for a wedding. And don't insert Temi or Ted, or don't talk about rich people. That's different. Like, my daughter's gonna have what they have different. Typically, the groom is showing up with a dowry. You're paying my dad for raising me, my mom for taking care of me, all that stuff. You're paying my cousins for playing with me. You're paying my uncles for... You're paying people just to take me out the home. Like, you're taking the prize out of the home, so you're paying. In no world is anybody from the bride's family paying for a canopy, a plastic chair, a schnapp, a goat, nothing. The bride's family is not forking up a dime. So the fact that her mom and dad were willing to pay for whatever crazy work, okay? Also, we would never be here if this man was black, African, person of color, whatever, because you would have never lent him $1, let alone 5, 10, 15, 20,000, 30, however much you ended up loaning him. A black man would have never been brave enough to go ask your friends, husbands and stuff for money. They most especially wouldn't have given it to him. I'm not even making this up. I don't know this girl from Adam, never met her, and I dare her to come on here and say I'm lying. If this man was black, if this man was African, if this man was from your damn tribe, from your same village, we wouldn't be here because you wouldn't even look at him, let alone send your passport fucking details. What do you mean? You know why you really lost me? When you had the nerve to talk about something, you were going to the village and he was packing a Rolex watch and you were like, do you know where you're going? We're going to the village. They're going to rob you. Oh, whoa. Now you're trying to stop the hustle of your people. I'm kidding. Now, they definitely would have robbed his ass. But the reason he was bringing that watch is he knew it wasn't motherfucking real. But honestly, though, yeah, just say you wanted mixed babies and we will let it go. But you coming on here, oh, and I have the nerve to talk about something. I took his passport so he couldn't leave, huh? I see you posting about you finally left him and you have peace. No, my love, he left you. How he leave you? Also, very brave of you to be taking trips when you owe somebody money. People are like, oh, she's an African. How did it? Because she's not an African. She's an Africant. Every time I saw you tuck your braids behind your ears, I knew what time it was. Crypto and Kryptonisha, you could have never been in the living room talking about, oh my God, we're going to fix this. If that was a black man, you would have detached. You would have removed yourself from the situation. I don't know how you came to the conclusion of royal title and $400,000 pay My sister, if somebody has a $400,000 paying job, they don't borrow $3,000 from you. Hello? Amen? The family is rich. The family is rich. Royal titles. Oh, he kept showing me screenshots and emails. You ever heard of Fiverr? You ever heard of Canva? You ever heard of any type of editing app, tool, PixArt? Email, girl, I could create an email right now. Esquire, who, JD from who. Send over an email. Yeah. Tax document, this, that. That's what you saw? How was the apartment that you Googled that wasn't his apartment already not sending you in the deep end? Oh, he's going to sell the 2 apartments in Copenhagen. They don't exist, my love. The business account doesn't exist. And after all that, he left you? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Watching the 25-part series of the Danish deception, and all I can say is, Onyeka, take this. Take this before I say what I want to say, because it might make you cry a little. Okay? Take. I've cut for you one. Girl, you don't like being black. Let's start there. Let's start there, because I had not seen any of your pictures, any of your pictures when you were with this said man. And now people found them somewhere, I don't know, and they showed to the internet. And how you are looking, I don't think you like being black very much. That's why when you're around white men or white people, you change your hair, you do all, slick hair, pressed down. I can tell a black woman that is insecure from a mile away when they're dealing with white people. Black women who are secure when they are dealing with white men and they're in relationships with them or married to them, they will wear their afro out, they'll wear their braids out, they'll wear their natural hair, they'll be happy, like they'll do the afro, they'll just be themselves, they will wear, some African things, like they are so content and so fulfilled being in their blackness that they don't need to prove anything. But with you, mama, there's a certain need for you to be validated by white people. And the fact that he was a white man, that's why he got away with it. If he was Emeka from Anambra State, we both know it would not have gone that far. So you are too, how do I say? I don't show worship, but you pedestalize white people so much in your community, in your friend circle. That's why he was able to do all these things, because if it was a fellow Nigerian, he would not have gotten away with it. And I'm just hearing from the grapevine that you follow Trampoline, Jay-Z Vance, it's got Jay-Z Vance, J.D. Vance, and Candace Owens. We both know where Candace stands when it comes to this topic. Those are the people you admire. Now we see why you got scammed, and you are going to actually get scammed again by a white man, because that need you have to be proximity, with the proximity you have to whiteness, is what is going to get you scammed the second time. And this time maybe it might be bigger, might be smaller, but a white man somewhere that see the type of woman you are is coming for you, because I don't think you entertain black as much, because right now that you're not with a white man, you're putting on braids. Black women, when you're dating outside of your race, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to prove that your English is good. You don't need to prove that your hair is slick back. You don't need to prove that your accent is... Be yourself. If a man wants you, he will take you as you are. That is number one. Number two, your naivete when it comes to dealing with men is what is going to get you scammed the second time. Maybe it's because you came from a good family, good home, good examples of men. So you have this naive view of people are genuine and nice and kind, and you trust men quickly. My sister, snakes and rats are out here. You need to look at people from a lens of distrust until they prove themselves otherwise. Okay? Number three, the need to date for social media validation. To post on Instagram cute pictures, because I've seen your pictures, you look cute. Together with that, your scammer boyfriend, husband. You people are looking very sumptuous. So you are looking like that, very sexy, very well put together like that, with nice vacations and gold and sweet, dazzling things. But you're the one paying bills. You pay bills for white man. You know, if it's a good white man, is genuine, is nice, and he has fallen on bad times, we understand. We are women now. We take care of our people. But he was scamming you from the start. You should not like white men that much. They swindle us of our land, natural resources. They are still taking oil in Nigeria. And now they're taking your money? Let's not do that. Onyeka, my sister, on my profile, I have an ebook on how to date this white man with no feelings. Because feelings got you scammed. If you went for money, you might be heartbroken, but at least you'll be crying in Greece with your own money intact. But now you're heartbroken, physically, emotionally, and also financially. Double tragedy. Another point. Learn to verify information. I don't care if it's Jesus Christ that is telling you that I came and I'm a son of God. Prove it. Prove it that you're the son of God. Jesus had to prove to people that he was the son of God. Yet these hooligans didn't have to prove anything. You put your hand on his leg, you get electrocuted. Dizima. Hey, what love did this now? Anyway, another thing. This need to be attracted to men based off their physical attraction and physical features without them proving themselves is what is going to get you scammed again. These women who go for this cute, oh, I like me cute, I like a cute man, a cute men don't have the money. Cute will not pay your bills, so cute will not fly you to vacation. Cute will not take care of your baby. The more the cute the man, the broker they are. Because they are doing that as a package to attract naive women like you who are like, oh, I have a cute boyfriend, but you're the one paying rent. I have a cute husband, but you're the one taking care of everything. Cute men don't have money unless he's a model by profession or he's an athlete and they have to keep themselves looking sharp. But regular people, they do not have the money. And then another point, my sister. This goes to all African women in Africa and in diaspora. Stop viewing these white men as gods. They are not any better. They are not any nicer. They are not any kinder. They're just different. And when you're dealing with them and you have standards, let the standards cut across white or black. But you cannot subject a white man to, white knight, you're okay sleeping with him on the first date, but with a black man, you want to sleep with him after 17 dates. Okay, Onyeka? So when you're dealing with these white men, subject them to the vigorous investigation that will subject a black man. Because if you did that, your money will still be with you. And then finally, when you're dealing with men as a woman, at least let a man have more money than you. Because rich or poor, they're all the same. The mental load, the psychological and emotional labor you're going to do in the house is all the same. So you better go for money. Because if you go for money, at least you have help, you have nannies. Because married women and women in relationship, they live shorter than single women. So if you have to pair yourself up with a man, pair up yourself with a man that is adding value in your life. And finally, this thing of falling in love with people you barely know. These people are here on Love is Blind. Oh, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. Because of what? Love should be effort. The more effort a man puts in to be with you, the more you fall in love with them. He has done nothing, but you're in love. Love got you scammed, my sister. Love got you scammed. You need to assess your view of money and why you feel like you don't deserve to be treated well. Because you went to a designer shop. They tell you, pick anything. You pick $200 and glasses because you don't want to prove to him that you're after his money. Now he was after yours. If you have taken that $15,000 Chanel bag or Dior bag, at least you'll have sold it and got the money back. When a man gives you an opportunity to pick something and takes you to a designer shop and say, my sweetheart, pick something. Pick something. Pick something, however expensive, because he has given you the offer, because you don't know. Because while you're there with your good heart thinking, oh, he's genuine and I don't want to be after his money, he was after your money. And this thing of sending your personal information to strangers on the internet that you don't know. He was asking for your passport information. Would you have given it if it was a maker? And I know, we should say, victim blaming. No, sometimes it's being stupid. If you'll have verified all this information, ask their family. They say they are royal. Did you hear Meghan Markle say that Prince Harry asked her for money? Because Prince Harry was prince and everybody knew that. And if he was coming from Denmark, from a royal family, all information will be there. When you go to his family, their house, their ranch, you will know they have the coin. So my sister, you just closed your eyes. So open them before another one comes. And learn to love yourself as a black woman, as a black Nigerian. Go back to your roots. Because if you don't, trampoline people, they're going to trample on your heart. Don't vex now, my sister. Don't vex. Don't vex. But take care. Because nobody's going to take care of you. The whites, they're all about taking.
Watch somebody say that they don't think race had anything to do with what happened in the Danish deception, and I completely disagree. I don't even think race was a background detail. I think it's the structure that made this entire situation possible. Literally, the whole time I watched this 25-part series, I kept asking myself, how is this possible? How did he get away with all of this? And in the end, the only conclusion that made sense was that his race had everything to do with it. For Oneka, this wasn't simply about being misled. It was shaped by her personal relationship to her blackness, and maybe even the racial messages she absorbed growing up in an African immigrant household. She wasn't just dealing with a man, she was dealing with years of conditioning that whiteness is safer, it's more desirable, more trustworthy. You could see it in how she was describing this man in the beginning of this series, and also how she adapted herself when she was around him. In almost every single picture that I have seen of them together, her hair was straightened. For many black women with low racial self-esteem, straightening their hair around white partners is not just a style choice. In many cases, it's an attempt to fit this Eurocentric standard that they've been taught is more acceptable and more lovable. And this conditioning doesn't come from nowhere. As an African myself, I know that many African immigrant families associate whiteness with competence. This is something I've witnessed firsthand. For example, when I was volunteering at a hospital in Ethiopia, patients would literally point out that their doctors or surgeons were white in a way to calm their nerves and also reassure themselves that the care that they were receiving would be successful. This type of automatic trust teaches children way before they even start dating that whiteness equals safety and expertise. So when a white, blonde, blue-eyed European man showed interest in her, it wasn't just romance. It activated layers of messaging that were curated through years of conditioning. This is why I think the warning signs didn't land the way that they should have. I don't even think it was because she was naive. I think that it might have been because she was socialized to lower her guard around whiteness. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I truly do believe that if a non-white man had behaved the same exact way, the red flags would have been noticed immediately. So no, the story was not racially neutral. It was shaped with her individual struggle with racial self-esteem, and also maybe the desire to be seen favorably through a white gaze. Also, I'm aware that there are a lot of other structures that allowed everything to unfold the way that it did, but I just wanted to highlight the racial frameworks.
I got 1 minute into Danish deception, and as soon as she started talking about blonde hair and blue eyes the way that she did, I automatically said, yeah, you're one of those, and this is not your last time getting played by a white man, because you would do anything for him. You're fiending bad. Because most black women would get $200 in debt with the white man that they're dating and automatically start feeling the spirit of slavery over that dynamic. But not you, because you're just somewhere thinking about blonde hair, mixed kids with green eyes. That's why you would have never let a black man play with you like that in your face for that long, but you did with a white man. If a Nigerian man had asked you for $32K, you would have seen the scam in that, but you couldn't because you too pressed thinking about his coloring in the Scandinavian white man. Mental colonization is actually really a disease, and you have to free yourself from it because this is so embarrassing and crazy. And I don't even believe in hypergamy or sprinkle nonsense. I think you're setting yourself up to be miserable. But my one exception is when you're dating a white man. When you're dating a white man, you're supposed to have your hand out that whole relationship. Just mink. What you got for me today, boo? What you gonna give up? Give me something. Words of Beyonce. Okay? Because as an African, too, mind you, this is an African that we're talking about, an African woman who's sitting over here letting herself be exploited by a European man to the tune of 300,000 American dollars. You don't, how could you ever let your relationship get to the dynamic of I owe this white man owes me 300K. I have financed this white man's life to the tune of 300K. How, as an African, the spirit of Patrice Lumumba doesn't come over you?
Even know what to say. I have no sympathy for it, honestly. If you don't want to free yourself from mental colonization, then you will get scammed. If I was him, I would do it again. And she didn't even learn her lesson, mind you. At the end of it, she was talking, she was still like blinking her eyes, just still in love with him. I hope you come back and teach you a lesson. I hope he play you again and teach you a lesson, because girl, embarrassing.